Good evening, and welcome to the 2021 Southern Prize and State Fellows Award Ceremony. I am Joy Young, Vice President of Programs at South Arts. I am so happy to be with all of you tonight. Although tonight's award ceremony is virtual, something many of us have grown accustomed to, the energy of this very special evening is certainly not diminished as we celebrate this year's roster of outstanding artists. This year is special and the 2021 marks the fifth year of the Southern Prize and State Fellows Program. In the 5 years of this program, it has awarded $400,000 to more than 45 artists, representing the highest caliber of work being created in the South. These awards have made such a positive impact for artists, and the need for this level of recognition for artists across our region is real. I am pleased to share with you that we anticipate another 5 years of the program through 2026. We look forward to all that lies ahead in the years to come and the artists we will discover through this initiative. As we reflect on a challenging year, one that has required great perseverance from all of us working in the arts, I am particularly grateful for this opportunity to recognize each of these gifted individuals and their tremendous work. Despite the adversity we have collectively experienced, it is clear the production of art never slowed. Congratulations to you all. Southern Prize and State Fellows was a process that was many months in the making. 857 artists from our 9-state region working in crafts, drawing, experimental art, painting, photography, sculpture, multidisciplinary, and mixed media applied for consideration as a state fellow. A juror panel, including some of the country's most respected artists, curators, and scholars, was assembled to accomplish the difficult task of narrowing this group down to the 9 artists recognized as the 2021 State Fellows. It is an incredible group of state and other professionals who helped choose this year's State Fellows and soon to be announced Southern Prize winners. South Arts announced the State Fellows in April and awarded each fellow a $5,000 cash prize, along with the opportunity to be considered for the Southern Prize. I encourage you to visit the South Arts website to learn more about these talented visual artists. But right now, it is my honor to introduce the 9 State Fellows to you in alphabetical order by state. From Birmingham, Alabama, mixed media artist, Tamika Cole. From Hollywood, Florida, multimedia artist, Marielle Placer. From Atlanta, Georgia, textile artist, Myra Green. From Prospect, Kentucky, painter Joyce Garner. From New Orleans, Louisiana, collaborative photography artists Chandra McCormick and Keith Calhoun. From Starkville, Mississippi, focused on drawing, artist Ming Ying Hong. From Huntersville, North Carolina, painter Jewel Ham. From Charleston, South Carolina, mixed media artist Fletcher Williams III. From Nashville, Tennessee, multidisciplinary artist Rahele Filsufi. Congratulations to each of the 9 State Fellows. We look forward to learning more about you and your work. I would now like to introduce South Arts Board Chair, Ben Rex.
Thank you, Joy, and thank you all for joining us tonight. It's a real honor to share this evening with you all. As Joy shared, 2021 marks the 5th year of South Arts Southern Prize and State Fellows, and also serves as an important milestone for our organization. South Arts itself was founded 50 years ago as the regional arts organization of the National Endowment for the Arts, serving a 9-state region from Florida to the north through Georgia, Alabama, and the Carolinas, over to the western bound of Kentucky and Tennessee, and down to the bayous of Louisiana and Mississippi. This geography benefits from a cultural depth, a diversity of humanity, and artistic assets of immeasurable value, strengths that have sustained us through the adversity faced by our region and the world throughout 2020 and 2021. South Arts' mission is simple: to advance Southern vitality through the arts. This mission is accomplished through a variety of programs that touch every part of our territory, from densely populated urban centers to rural, remote communities. Interwoven through this work is South Arts' deep commitment to equity, ensuring that each grant, fellowship, and program elevates the entire region without biases in regard to geography, gender, race, creed, or socioeconomic background. The award-winning work of our 2021 State Fellows represents the diversity of experience and perspective so unique to our region and to this moment in time, and it is an honor to introduce these artists to you tonight. Before we go further, I would like to acknowledge and thank the vast network of individuals who make this program possible. We send a very special thank you to our lead sponsor for this year's Southern Prize and State Fellows program, Chubb. Chubb's tremendous support of the arts throughout our country is inspirational, and we are honored to count Chubb as a new supporter of this important program in the South. Thank you. There are also many more donors and sponsors who have contributed financially to this award-winning program, and many of you have participated with us for several years. We are so grateful for your sustained commitment to the Southern Prize and the impact it has on the South. I would like to thank each of our region's state arts agencies for the many ways they provide support to the work of South Arts, playing a key role in ensuring artists in each of their states are aware of our many opportunities, including this award program. Thank you for all of you do. I want to acknowledge the South Arts Board, a dedicated group of leaders whose commitment to the work of our organization and the arts of our region is unparalleled. Thank you for your vision, leadership, and creativity year after year. It is an honor to serve with you. A key partner in this program is the Hambidge Center and its executive director, Jamie Badu. The Hambidge Center's creative residency community in the Georgia Mountains provides talented artists with opportunities to explore, develop, and express their creative voices. The Hambidge Center team helps to facilitate the artist submission process for the Southern Prize and State Fellows, in addition to providing a 2-week residency to both the Southern Prize winner and the finalist. Thank you, Hambidge. You make a wonderful commitment to the arts and to the Southeastern United States. I also want to thank our partners at the Bo Bartlett Center at Columbus State University. South Arts will again partner with the Bo Bartlett Center to present the first installation of this year's award winner exhibition in their gallery space. This exhibition will open to the public later this summer before it moves to other locations across the region throughout 2022. I hope you will have the opportunities to see these works of art in person at the Bo Bartlett Center or at another location near you as it travels the South. Now, without further delay, I'm very pleased to introduce Franklin Sermons, an American art critic, editor, writer, curator, and director at the Perez Art Museum, Miami since 2015. Franklin will lead our State Fellows in conversation about their work. Following this conversation, we will announce tonight's 2 top winners, the finalist and the Southern Prize winner. Franklin?
Thanks, Ben. Good to see everybody. Welcome, everyone, and great to be with you. I also want to thank Joy, I want to thank Susie and everybody at South Arts, and especially the previewers and jurors who have gotten us to this point. Boy, did you have a tough job. We're sitting here with 10 really, really, really amazing artists. And we are here, I think, to get to the point of learning who is the finalist and learning who is the winner. But first, we get to hear a little bit more about the work from each of the artists. I think we're going to take a moment just to let everybody kind of give us a little bit of guidance. It's one thing to have seen the images, to understand where the work is coming from, and to take that into consideration with the whole that Ben mentioned as far as the prize and the context of our region, which, gosh, is certainly an interesting region to be making art in this moment in time. I envy all of you. It is an incredible body of work. It is full of diversity, like all of you, and really a tough job to come out with a finalist and a winner. So let's hear a little bit from the artists. And we're gonna go down in the same order. So we're gonna start with Tamika. And really, this is just an opportunity. What I'd like to do is just take a couple of minutes to get a little bit more clarity on each of the artists' work, and then move into more of an open conversation based around themes and ideas. Tamika, can you tell us a little bit about your work?
I have a background being formerly incarcerated. I started off as a writer and got into visual arts. And all of it is not only self-expression, but it's very therapeutic for me. It helped me to cope with my situation and transition outside of those walls into a productive citizen. And because of the past trauma from being formerly incarcerated and, situations from my youth and even afterwards, um, the things that are going on in society right now, profoundly affect me. So therefore I have to have a positive outlet to process that, um, uh, not letting it affect me in a negative way, being a positive contribution to society, and really enjoying being an artist.
I think the idea of art being therapeutic is something everyone can relate to. Before we move on, I just wonder if you could touch a little bit on how you mix history with the contemporary.
Uh, well, we all know as African Americans, we have had, not only traumatic history, the atrocities that been committed by people of Black and brown people. And we still see some of that today, just in a, modern day, because I actually started off working with a program called Die Jim Crow, based on Michelle Rodriguez, the new Jim Crow. So we, have to admit we are still experiencing some forms of lynching, some form of, slavery. We are disenfranchised people as a whole.
Sure.
And, each individual has different ways they have to deal with it. And I choose to deal with it through being artistic.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. And look forward to following up. I'm gonna continue on with my fellow Floridian, Marielle Plaisir. Wonderful. Hey, Marielle. So we've had a chance to see some of the images, and obviously, you know, that idea of history and the contemporary is something very much at play in your work. Tell us a little something.
I would say first that I am really a multimedia artist, and I am trying to find the good medium to express my narrative and my idea. And I am originating from the Caribbean, from Guadeloupe, which is a small island that you can even see in the map of the world. And my work is a sort of open window on societal behavior. And I am trying to examine the concept of social domination and exploring issues of colonialism alongside those of race and class, and through painting, sculpture, installation, photography. But first, my work is a critique of prejudice. And I am replacing violence, discrimination, prejudice by beauty. So I mean, it's like if I am in a sort of construction of another world, the reverse of our world, in which there is neither dominant and undominated population. I mean, we are living in an amazing world. In a sort of pluralistic and globalized world. And we are supposedly to be post-race, post-identity, post-gender, even post-human. And at the same time, there is a sort of strong pursuit of racism and discrimination that I just can't understand. And my question through my work is, how could we cure the big sick bodies of our government? And the result is, to me, it's a construction of beautiful world. I mean, in which, I don't know, I always thought that humor, beauty, happiness could be weapon to fight. And my work is just my voice. It's the only thing I have to, you know, to fight, to explain, and to invite people to fight with me against discrimination, violence, prejudice.
It's a great voice, and the way you tell it with your usage of collage is incredibly interesting. I think that's something that we might touch upon in both your work and Tamika's work in particular. It also shows up in Joyce's work. We'll get there. I'm gonna move on. Thank you, Marielle. Moving on to Myra Green.
Hello, Franklin.
Hey, Myra.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Wonderful to see the work. And it seems as though we saw a very cohesive body right there. If I'm not mistaken, all from the same installation. Tell us what moves you.
It's not all from the same installation.
Okay.
But, one body or a similar body of work. I am a trained photographer, but 5 years ago started on dyeing and printing on textiles, sort of thinking about representation without the body, thinking about color, as answering the same questions I was really interested in sort of the context of color. For me, speaking specifically about race, but also thinking about just that natural phenomenon of how our eyes work. So I spent a few years practicing that, and trying to dye things the color of my skin tone, which is a shade of brown, and doing that in a multitude of ways, and then also printing and sort of using that textile language, which I was new to and learned about, to sort of explore a world of abstraction. And so that's where my work is right now, is sort of really thinking about representation of race, but doing it in an abstract manner. And it's a difficult thing because people will quickly think it's about beauty, and it is, but it's about a much more complicated web of questions.
Yes, indeed. And it goes in cycles as I think our perception. But how wonderful to see in this context. I was standing in front of a juxtaposition of a Norman Lewis painting last week at the Whitney in New York, and thinking about the ways in which he used abstraction as a form of representing. You don't see it so obviously in front of your eyes, and then it comes into focus.
Yeah, one of my favorites. There's a list of incredible artists who traverse that language really, really well, that are very inspiring to me.
It's an incredibly rich aesthetic in the Southern context as well. I think so many of those giants and heroes, we think of people like Sam Gilliam, for instance, or Alma Thomas. I mean, they all come from this context.
Yeah.
It's really telling. Thank you.
It's very sunbright all of a sudden.
That's them speaking.
It's a photography thing, I guess. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, we're gonna move on. Hey, Joyce. Wonderful. Great to see some of the images, and tell us a little about them. You know, it brings us back into the space of figuration.
I do that. My paintings are just using paint, color, and exploring life as I live it. Family, community, nature.
They have a beautiful reference point. I think, you know, with Marielle's work, we also see a context of surrealism, a context that might be something with a more historical import. I can't help but think of, you know, other artists and in a historical sense when I look at the work. And it didn't occur to me that they were necessarily figures that were in the contemporary, but they are. Tell us.
And they are. And the artists you're probably thinking of, maybe Chakal or somewhere, these are gifts that they gave us, this visual language, so that our figures can fly. We're not limited in expressing relationships.
Beautiful. And are they narrative based?
They are, but I find the narrative changes over time. Meaning I get a little older and I look at it and it shifts on me. So I have confidence in the viewer to find the narratives.
Right on, right on. So they are open, of course, open to interpretation, which is another one of those things that we all need and I think find so much sustenance in contemporary art as a means of allowing us to ponder the world that we live in. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's keep going. We're at Keith and Chandra.
Yeah.
I think I've seen some of these before.
Hey,
Hey.
wait. You gonna go?
So, okay, so tell us what we're looking at. These beautiful colors. You almost think that they're paintings. We know they're not, but tell us.
Hi, Franklin. How are you?
Hey, Chandra, how you doing?
Okay. The images are they are photographs. They are on color transparency, Kodachrome film, and the images that you are looking at that are color are from our film that was inundated by Hurricane Katrina. So those are waterlogged negatives and slides. And we decided to save them and work with them, and these, what you see are like the results. They're really beautiful and vibrant because a lot of the things that we photographed were so colorful as well. So those are what's kind of.
So are we looking at the exact photograph, or is it a re-photograph of the work that was?
It's an exact photograph from the slide or negative that it was made from.
Put it in the freezer.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And what were some of those images? Because there's so much power solely in the context and the concept behind what you're doing in terms of using material that has been changed not only by time, but by a very significant event.
So a lot of those photographs were of music. We work in different theme forms. So some of them are of the sugarcane series from Louisiana, series that we did on laborers. And so we just did the different labor sources of Louisiana. And I think it's the music in the Louisiana series is what we showed here.
Beautiful.
So the
Keith,
culture.
you want to add?
I just want, yeah, do you want to keep it?
Oh, well, Chandra, she usually do so well. But anyway, a lot of this work, when we came back from Katrina, it was waterlogged. So we still scanning and pulling them out the freezer because we had over 30 years of work. And so it's almost every other day we find new work, you know, it's like rediscovering work that you did 20 years ago and developing them and printing them.
Wow.
I think it's fortunate that we had a loss, but we know people lost a lot during Katrina, but we was able to maintain our work and keep it in this community because a lot of our work come from the people, and we try to make sure that the people can still come to our art space and share it with the community. And I think that's one of the beautiful things of having this work.
Absolutely. I think in this context, we all know so much incredible work has been made out of situations where one could almost say making something out of nothing, but then to make something out of what could be perceived as destruction in some instances is incredibly powerful.
Yeah, making beauty out of destruction.
Thank you.
All right.
So we're moving on to Mississippi, Ming Ying Hong. Wow. Thank you. Hi.
Franklin,
Hey, Ming, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good, good. Incredible draftsmanship. Tell us, where does it begin? I mean, it's kind of the essence, I think, of so much art making. But what does it mean for you?
So the series started when I started thinking about society and how it defines bodies in terms of binaries. So masculine and feminine, ugly and beautiful, weak and strong. And by defining our bodies in terms of binaries, it creates a really problematic value system in which, you know, like masculinity is more prized than femininity. So the work itself is interested in how our bodies can contain a multitude of identities. And the work combines all these binaries into a single composition. So you have what is considered masculine combined with what's considered feminine. Things that are grotesque are combined with things that are societally beautiful. Things that are delicate are combined with things that are strong. And a frequent visual device that I use is the process of collaging. Although it's not like a literal cut and paste, I am borrowing a lot of images from different sources. And it seems like the perfect process because it allows for play and hybridity, and images are transformed and remixed with no distinct point of origin. Collages kind of force elements magnetically opposed to one another into a unified composition, and it brings new meaning to old images. So in the series, I found images from the internet and magazines and books to create drawings that bring all of these contradictory elements together to question the way that we define and value constructed identities.
Wow. And we saw one image, it appears the head of a figure quite large. So just tell us a little bit. This is all graphite on paper, and what is the scale like?
They are 50 inches in height and 39 inches in width. They are graphite pencil on drafting film, which is like the architectural film. It's got a little bit of translucency to the paper, which I think references, the reason why I chose Mylar is because it references the body, and that I think about, you know, when we have sunburns and we peel skin off, there's a little bit of translucency there. In terms of the head with the eyes, it is, I would consider a portrait. The eyes, the really beautiful one comes from a beauty magazine selling lash extensions. The other one is an eye that came from a medical textbook. So these, I'm juggling both of these two things in a single composition.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we keep moving. Jewel Ham.
Hi.
Hi. So here we are in this space of figurative painting. Tell us a little bit about your process and where the work is coming from.
Absolutely. So even though I work with traditional figures and bright colors, my work is actually rooted in the idea of reparation, and less in the financial sense because that's not really my jurisdiction. But more in the idea of our narratives being told authentically, and the titles especially also kind of holding on to our culture and really capturing it in a sense that only some of us can understand. So in a sense, you get a sense of gatekeeping, and the red hues that kind of became more popular in my skin complexions, that's something that I've really been taking forth with my practice. It started with just, oh, I kind of like this, a little this, a little that. But really, I started to realize like I'm interested in capturing some of the things that are unique just to us and our culture, some of the things that only we bring to the table, creativity and innovation wise. And I think that's something that's an ancestral blood that we all kind of share. And it's something that I kind of was interested in exploring. How would that blood exist beyond the blood, as in the sense of it boiling up to the skin? Because I think something that we all share also is a sense of frustration just because of society treating us the way society treats us. And while that frustration does lead to that sense of innovation, it also, it's heavy and it's a lot to carry. So I want to make sure I give voice to that and I pay homage to that, while also exploring the emotionality and things that are kind of difficult for us to discuss as people, because we deserve to be seen in that light. So yeah.
What a beautiful bridge back to Ming's work and conversation on skin treatment as well. Obviously dealing with a palette that is, as you said, quite colorful and primary in context. It's amazing to hear how you ascribe the red in that kind of context of different primary colors.
Absolutely. But yeah, the red is something that I continue to build on, and I feel like I'm so excited to be a part of this group because I've been able to explore the colors through materiality a little bit differently than before. So yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you. And moving on, South Carolina, Fletcher Williams III. The diversity of material and modes of working keeps us moving. Tell us a little bit about what we're looking at in particular.
So I think most of what you showed on the screen was from an exhibition last year at the Aiken Red House, which, if you aren't familiar with that, it's essentially an urban plantation downtown Charleston. I think I have a unique situation in which I'm part of, like the roots of this country exist here. African-American identity exists here. There's a lot of preservation. There's preservation of historical sites, which also there is historical interpretation. So I think as an artist, I think you're also tasked with sort of being responsible for commemorating and also challenging parts of the history that may not have been written correctly or by the right people. So I think a lot of my work, I do that by using specific materials that speak to certain experiences, speak to certain spaces, the natural landscape, the built environment. I use palmetto roses, I use sweetgrass, I take rubbings of bricks, but also not all of it is necessarily historical. I mean, that exhibition in particular, I used the white picket fence as kind of critique on the idea of the American dream and social mobility. So all that stuff, those pieces were installed at the Aiken-Wright House. So it's an interesting juxtaposition between the present and history to speak about the American dream and what that means for different groups of people.
Super interesting, and to think about it in the context of a past work that was working together with an architectural site. What have you been up to this last year?
As in what the remainder of this year?
I mean, the post-COVID work, the post-COVID work.
I've continued a lot of this work. I mean, I think the picket fence has become my muse. I think, as we're still reckoning with American identity and history, and what it means to be American, who has access to it, equity and so forth. So I think that motif in particular has become a strong symbol for me. So I've been working with that. I do a lot of rubbings using Spanish moss. Like I said, I use a lot of material from the Southern landscape, all the Southern vernacular, tin roof. Yeah, everything related to food culture. I mean, a lot of that stuff is preserved here. A lot of the traditions from West Africa, because all the enslaved were brought through these ports here in Charleston. So, I mean, it's all visible, it's inescapable, and it makes its way into my work.
Yeah, another deep reference point to history. Thanks, Fletcher. And we move on to Rahele. Hi, Tennessee. Hey, so we saw a little bit. I think we were looking at at one point an installation with video and also works on paper. And sculptural work, obviously, as well. And definitely a conversation with Fletcher's work, I think, is interesting.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to talk to you and be among all these amazing peers. I enjoyed listening to them and as they shared their work and their knowledge. I know myself as, can you hear me? Reza bebandune to.
Perfect.
Yeah. I know myself as a collector of soil and sound, itinerant artist, in constant move. When it comes to the medium and material that I use, I'm interested in multimedia installation and practice. It's because I can cover a great, amount of experimental, geographical, temporal, and conceptual ground through multimedia installations. They provide multi-layers of meanings and, perceptions. And that's why I'm interested to work with that. However, the core of my practice is using clay as the main material. And not only physically, but also metaphorically, symbolically, I use clay or anything related to this material in my work. In general, the subject matter of my work, it's about human condition, the issues of immigration, border, cross-cultural communications, because they're interwoven with the notion of identity, belonging, and inhabitation. And to me, it's important to address these issues because I have been an immigrant in this country myself, and I'm always seek for a place to belong. And therefore, it's always important to me to be able to create an environment for people that enter to that space to be able to question issues, regarding these issues, and to kind of promote engagement through these installations.
Wonderful. We see the signs and symbols in the 2D work in particular. Just to give a mention of what's happening in the video.
The video, I think you're addressing the Imagine Boundaries. That was the multimedia installations that happened in 2017, and then it happened in different locations in United States. Actually, it was for the first time was in Hollywood Center in Florida.
Wow.
And the work was divided between two countries, Iran and United States. And in Florida, Iranians were looking at Americans, and in Iran, Americans were looking at Iranians. And it happened for a moment, even though it happened for in a day, but we managed to have people to look at each other in few moments. And the idea was create a dynamic relationship between these two countries that we know for years they've never been in communication till actually 2017, that the presidents of both countries had 3 minutes a conversation over the phone. So the idea is for me as an Iranian American, how I work as a bridge between cultures, promote somehow understanding and mutual respect, at least by looking, by opening in a space that people are curious in order to make connection. And hopefully one day they will be able to talk.
That's a perfect place to end this. Thank you so much for that. And it reminds me of, I think, why so many of us do what we do, is a belief in the power of art to create empathy and to create understanding, or as you said, bridges. So spot on, so important, probably more important than ever in the context of today. It was amazing and wonderful to hear from all of you. I have to say that I'm happy to be here because I feel like these opportunities are chances to learn about new work and to learn about older work in a different or newer way. And so I really appreciate you guys at Southern Arts allowing me to be a part of this process. And not only have had a longstanding interest, I think, in the South specifically, before working here in Florida, but to see the diversity of all of the work that you guys are creating is quite phenomenal. And I can't overstate. I look forward to hearing the results, but you're all making great work. So thank you for sharing it and talking about it a little bit. Let's just touch on a few things before we move on to that part of the evening. I'll start at the end. This conversation around empathy seems to be a part of all of your work, and this idea of trying to understand a place in the present, but with a firm acknowledgement on history is paramount. Is there? I'll pick something out. Fletcher, I was curious. With that context of the specific space and creating installation, just to say something about installation as a means of working. I mean, Rahel also talked about that, and it's important and obviously stands out in the work of you too.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. There we go. No, that was a very interesting installation. A lot of that work actually wasn't slated for that building. And just to give you some more context,
okay.
The Aiken Rhett House, sits in the heart of downtown Charleston, all these huge colonial homes. But it's unique in that it has 2 slave quarters still intact on the back lot. So what I did in this one, and I was fortunate enough because it was open air, I was able to invite people into this exhibition when most things were closed. And so a lot of people really engaged. It was part of the national conversations that are happening around race and social justice. So what better place to talk about the roots of those conversations in the context of a plantation? So what I did was install the picket fence throughout that house. And there were some moments, just to speak about empathy, to where that point was really driven home. I installed picket fence, and it became very figural. And I did that to mimic and to represent the people that were in these very confined spaces. There was no heat. This space sat above or sits above the kitchen house, which would always be, the fire would always be going in case, to be ready for the owner's guests and things like that. So it was very interesting. I think one of the most satisfying exhibitions for me to really mobilize people and get people to a site and understand history through experience, not just reading something or, walking, casually by something. They really had to feel the heat. They had to walk through that house, really engage with the work. So I think it was pretty powerful.
Awesome. And just, I'm thinking through Medium, and, we had one artist we were talking about, and Keith and Chandra, about photography and its ability to tell truths in some ways. But the amazing thing about your work is that, at first glance, I think a lot of those pieces, we might have thought they were paintings. How have you evolved that relationship? And I know part of it is happened by chance, but that relationship between making a photograph and then turning it into something else, or constructing is a word we've used.
Okay, we're still talking to me, right?
Keith and Chandra.
Oh, I thought.
Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, we got it. Go ahead. What you say?
I think that the images, I mean, they, like I was saying before, they're very colorful. I think I'm answering the question, but could you just repeat it, Franklin?
Yeah, the idea of you making images that aren't just standalone photographs. I know you do that, and we can get a sense of a big black and white photograph behind you. But when you showed those images the first time, the ones we were looking at that were in color, they almost look like they've been paintings or constructed out of something. So I'm just thinking about the difference between as the only photographers we have with us this evening, or straight ahead photographers. I know Myra comes from that as well.
So they are photographs, and they really do look very artsy. Different things happened during during when they were waterlogged. And so when we were working with them to restore them, we found that there are different processes or different transitions that the photographs made. Some of them have like veiny kind of looks, like red veins, like the one Tiny. The series looks blue and there are red veins through them. And there's some of the images look like they were just shocked.
Yeah,
a shocking effect, and they just have different moods, and they've transitioned some of them that are visible to us to be able to identify possibly what it was. They're just they're so beautiful the way they have the colors have muted, and all of the mold, everything that was on them.
But also, I mean, we had a lot of work that was damaged, but then some work wasn't damaged. So we kind of torn in between.
Right on.
Some of the work, well, I don't see one here. Where's the? Okay, I'm gonna just turn here.
Okay.
Part of a series of the dock worker series, and none of that work was waterlogged. So we don't know how Mother Nature was working, but some came out like this, some came out waterlogged, but we fortunate to have whatever we had. And I think because of the subject matter here working in the South, documenting prison, the River Road life, to see how life is vanishing among pretty much, there's no need for Black labor in the South no more. So it's a scary situation right now because, we spend a lot of times on the back road, and now it's more migrant workers working the fields. So we're glad that we was able to capture the process of the last working force of sugarcane workers in the South. and keeping that history to show that one time we worked them fields, you know?
Yes, so much specific history in a lot of the work. I know we only have limited time, but Tamika, I just wanted to talk a little bit about process. We mentioned collage, and can you just tell us a little bit about process?
When I'm working with the charcoal and so forth, one of the things that I think as human beings we don't want to acknowledge is that all of us have a dark side, dark place. On a daily basis, each of us should get up and try to be a decent human being, not a perfect human being. And that's how you get better and are able to communicate with other people by acknowledging that we have these dark areas, things that we need to say, hey, that's not going to be the right way to approach this situation or that situation. And I inject a lot of that into the dark backgrounds, with the charcoal and graphite. It just does something for me as an artist. But I'm hoping that other people, when they view the art, they can kind of see that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And moving around, talking about history and its relationship to images. Marielle, just tell us something. There's images that are taken from, you mentioned the colonial context. Just how is that made? Is it also a process of using drawing on top of paint and then collaging? Just curious. Sorry, I think you're on mute. Are you there?
Yeah.
Cool.
My last work is the use of collage through a new concept, the backlight, and in which I am using the collage, but also the light. And what was your question?
Just to tell us a little bit about the process of making the image.
Yeah, so it's a mix of everything, but for me, it's not only a collage, it's a painting. Even if it's collage, in my mind, it's painting.
Exactly.
But, and I am using the light also, but it's a way for me, it's to find a good medium to express more deeply the narrative. So for me, I think I am defining myself as a multimedia artist, because even if I don't know how to use this or this medium, I am trying, because I know that this medium would be the perfect one to say something deeply. So it could be, I don't know, it could be today is a backlight, but tomorrow it could be carbon, I don't know what. But even if I am first a painter, I mean, we can use anything today to create something.
Sure. Thank you. More general, we are what, 15 months removed from the beginning of a very strange period in history. Did everybody make work immediately? Like did anybody pause? And I'm just curious.
I can, no, I never stopped. I never stopped. It was like a sort of running to express this period, because it was hard, and it was like, okay, if I stopped, I'm going to die. And I don't want to die. I have a lot of things to say about people who are dying, about the social environment, about the politic environment, and too much think. And I I read a lot, I watch a lot of documentaries, and it was like food.
Yeah.
I need to eat something every day to create. And so I am also a resident at Ulight, and it was for me the perfect place because it was quiet to work. And I mean, the first thing I did was the construction of the backlight, my last work, and I was very in a good condition, I would say, to create.
Yeah.
It was, I think maybe it could be, or it may be the unique time in my life, and I hope so. It will, but no, it was a perfect time for me.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Jewel, you look like you were about to say something. I'm thinking of the interior lives that are documented in your work and in Ming's work in particular, and wondering, I don't know, maybe there's a different answer or different context. I know for me, I had to stop. I couldn't do anything. All I could do was think in a very kind of work way, and I've had struggled with actually writing anything ever since.
Absolutely. I think different from most of the people here, I was finishing undergrad when the pandemic started. So kind of feeling just like maybe I should just slow it down for a minute. But also I think the pandemic forced me to really reflect in a way that you don't get when you're always working, always turning in assignments, always doing deadlines, you know? So I really wanted to take some time to just take it all in. And I can really understand what Marielle was saying of all the stimulation as food, but I was empty bellied, I feel like. So I really just needed to kind of feast for a bit and then put it back into the work, because while I didn't completely stop, I felt like a lot of the things that I was putting together, they were starting, but they weren't starting with the same momentum I felt before the pandemic. So I kind of had to take a deep breath and really think about, what do I want to say with my work? Who is my audience? And that time was very necessary, because I think so often as artists, the question that everyone is really asking you without asking you is, so what's next?
Of course.
So I really just needed some time to step back from what was next and think about the answer wholly. So I really needed that time. And then the work followed.
Right on. Yeah, Myra?
I can say the sort of the same thing, but not really, that I made 101 masks and shipped them to my friends across the country because there was that lack of connection to people.
Yeah.
And working with fabrics, you're like, oh, I can do this thing. And it kept me in my practice, but kept me in the moment. And then after that, I was able to make work. There was sort of the need to protect first, and then the need to make art.
Wow. Yes. Wow. So apropos. So what a gesture and way of working through that moment as an artist. You all are incredible artists, and congratulations to all of you. Thank you for allowing me to be in correspondence with you and in conversation with you rather. And good luck, and look forward to seeing more of the work.
Thank you.
And I'm turning it over to Ben.
Thank you for opening a window to each of our state fellows in this dialogue, Franklin. Fellows, this conversation poignantly illustrates the strength of your individual and collective narratives. Your work exemplifies the best of our region, and we're thrilled to celebrate you and the myriad ways you advance our society. From this group of 9 fellows, we will now announce the 2 who have been selected to receive the top awards, the Southern Prize finalist and the winner of the Southern Prize. As we do this, I will share some of the comments we received from our jurors as they made their selections. First, we will announce the Southern Prize finalist. Our first runner-up, so to speak, will receive a $10,000 cash prize and a 2-week residency at the Hambidge Center. In the words of our jurors, The artist makes me feel like they are world building, creating a reality they are welcoming me into that is specific and unique to this artist. And another comment, if I walked into this space, I would feel like I am on hallowed ground. The jurors appreciated how the artist builds on a sense of place, embracing its contradictions and complicated histories. And it is my pleasure to announce the 2021 Southern Prize finalist, Fletcher Williams from Charleston, South Carolina. Fletcher, would you like to share a few words with us?
Sure. I just want to say thank you to the jurors, to South Arts. This is quite an honor. That was a major exhibition, a major undertaking in 2020. I'm just really appreciative, and also a fellow friend and artist, Susan McAllister, who recommended that I look into South Arts and submit my portfolio. So I'm very glad I did, and I'm amongst a great group of artists, and just want to say I'm really honored, and thank you again.
Thank you, Fletcher. We're excited for all 9 of you, and very excited for you. And now to the finale of our program, the announcement of the 2021 Southern Prize winner. This artist will receive a $25,000 cash prize and a 2-week residency at the Hambidge Center. In examining this artist, the jurors found the work powerful with strong and complicated juxtapositions. One juror declared the work floored me, gave me a lot to chew on. The jurors commented on this artist's ability to move between multiple disciplines with sophistication, yet retain a language between all the different ways they work. And it is my great pleasure to announce the 2021 Southern Prize winner is Marielle Plaisir from Hollywood, Florida. Marielle, will you please share a few words with us?
Seriously? Seriously? I just can't talk. I am so happy. It's just a great recognition, and I don't know. It's wonderful. Thank you. It's wonderful. I am very touched. You can't. I don't know. I don't have the words. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, to that, let's raise a toast. I hope all of you have a glass of something festive nearby to join me in raising a toast to these outstanding artists. Congratulations, Marielle.
Thank you.
2021 Southern Prize winner, and to Fletcher Williams, the art finalist. And to all of you, our state fellows, whom we have celebrated this evening. We look forward to the following your careers and your continued success in the months and years to come. Hear, hear, cheers.
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 Thank you. Thank you so much.
We want to remind you to visit the Bo Bartlett Center at Columbus State University to see all of our winning artists work in person at the Southern Prize exhibition. It will be on display starting in August through January. Ben and Franklin, thank you for leading us this evening, and thank you to the entire South Arts community of supporters and friends across the region for your unwavering support of the arts in our region. The arts are thriving in the South thanks to you. Thank you for joining us this evening, and good night.
Thank you.
Tu l'as eu, ma fille, tu l'as eu.